She stood there, looking at the ashes. The flames had eaten everything. She would never see her mother again. Once upon a time, in a small village called Sambola, there was a girl named Akina. She lived with her mother, Nola, in a round, thatched house. The house sat on a hill where the trees stood tall, and the birds sang sweet songs in the morning. Akina's father had died when she was a baby, and since then, it was just the two of them. Nola was a strong woman. She was known in the village for her wisdom and kindness. She knew the secrets of herbs, and people came to her for cures and advice. But to Akina, she was just her mother, and lately, Akina had begun to resent her. Akina was beautiful, with skin that glowed like the rich earth after the rain, and eyes that sparkled like the river under the midday sun. Many young men in the village admired her, and some even came to ask for her hand in marriage. But her mother always chased them away. Each time a man showed interest, Nola would tell them no, that Akina was not ready, that she had more to learn. It made Akina furious. "Why do you do this?" Akina would shout at her mother. "Why won't you let me marry? I am old enough. You are ruining my life." Nola would simply shake her head. "You do not see what I see, Akina. You are not ready. One day, you will understand." But Akina didn't understand. All she saw was that her mother was keeping her from happiness. She started to hate Nola for it. She began to spend less time at home, staying out late in the village, talking to the young men who admired her. The more her mother tried to protect her, the more Akina pushed her away. One day, a young man named Juma came to the village. He was tall and handsome, with a deep voice and a smile that made Akina's heart race. He was new to the area, having come from another village far away. The moment Akina saw him, she was smitten. Juma noticed her too, and soon, they were spending all their time together. Akina was sure that Juma was the one. He was different from the other men. He made her laugh, and he told her stories of his travels. He promised to take her away from the village, to show her the world beyond Sambola. Akina could see a future with him, and she wanted it more than anything. When Juma came to ask for Akina's hand, her mother said no, as she always did. But this time, Akina couldn't bear it. She screamed at her mother, calling her selfish and cruel. "You are destroying my life. I will never forgive you for this." Nola looked at her daughter with sad eyes. "I am trying to protect you, Akina. You do not know Juma as I do. He is not what he seems." But Akina didn't believe her. She packed her things and ran away with Juma that very night, leaving her mother behind. She was finally free, she thought. Free to live her own life, to make her own choices. She didn't need her mother anymore. For a while, life with Juma was wonderful. They traveled from village to village, seeing new places and meeting new people. Akina felt alive in a way she never had before. But slowly, things began to change. Juma started to become distant. He would leave her alone for long periods, disappearing without explanation. When he was around, he was no longer the sweet, charming man she had fallen in love with. He became harsh, controlling. He made decisions for her, and when she disagreed, he would shout at her, sometimes even raising his hand. Akina began to feel trapped. She missed her mother's gentle voice, her comforting presence. She realized too late that her mother had been right all along. She had been blind to Juma's true nature. She had let her anger and pride lead her down a path of misery. One day, after a particularly terrible argument, Juma left and did not return. Akina waited for days, but he never came back. She was alone, in a strange place, with no one to turn to. She didn't know how to find her way home. She was lost, and she felt like she had lost herself in the process. In her despair, she began to walk, not knowing where she was going, only that she needed to keep moving. After days of wandering, she found herself back in Sambola, standing on the hill where her home used to be. But when she arrived, she saw that her house was gone, burned to the ground. The ashes of the home she had once shared with her mother blew in the wind. Akina fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. She realized that she had lost everything. The mother she had hated, the home she had left behind, the future she had dreamed of, all gone. She wept for hours, until there were no more tears left to cry. In the days that followed, the villagers told her what had happened. After Akina left, Nola had fallen ill. She had waited for her daughter to return, but when she didn't, Nola's heart grew heavy with sorrow. One night, a fire broke out in the house, and Nola was too weak to escape. The flames consumed everything. Akina was left with nothing but her regret. She had hated her mother for chasing her suitors away, but now she understood that her mother had only been trying to protect her. Akina had been too blind to see it. Now it was too late. She spent the rest of her days in the village, helping others as her mother once did. She never married, never left Sambola again. She carried her mother's memory with her always, a reminder of the price of pride and the cost of not listening to those who love you most.